once again and welcome to my YouTube channel. But what are we doing tonight? Well, we're going to be talking about and having a little play around with some things related to a very famous pedal which at the moment seems to hold more regard in the pedal world than any other pedal that there's ever been. The pedal in question that we're talking about is the Klon Centaur. Looks like this. And it was made by a gentleman by the name of Bill Finnegan way back in the 90s, I do believe, yes. He chucked a bunch of them out there, and they've since gone on to become fabled and legendary, and are now trading hands northwards of $5,000, which is absolutely ridiculous for a guitar pedal, really. But what is a Klon Centaur? I mean, you know, it's basically an overdrive pedal, that's in its simplest terms. The idea behind it is it's meant to be a pedal that doesn't change your signal too much, doesn't change your tone too much, but it just adds to it and it emphasizes it and it makes it much better, much nicer and all this and that. And it can add a bit of dirt to your signal, it can push the front end of your amp a little bit like a traditional overdrive pedal. But all that aside, you know, the word mojo gets banded around quite a lot when it comes to this pedal. You'll hear it a lot. It's got some secret special mojo sauce. Now, many years ago when this pedal was brought out, the gentleman who produced it, he applied a load of black goop to the circuit board so you couldn't actually see what was going on the circuit board. But some very clever people managed to get around that and reverse engineer the pedals. So yeah, over the years, all the manufacturers decided that they should jump on the bandwagon also and produce their own Klon clone. And there is a whole bunch of them out there to be had now, and there's some that you can buy for a handful of dollars. Made by like Chinese manufacturers all the way through to like boutique manufacturers, and some of the most highly regarded ones out there are trading hands for quite a lot of money. In fact, Bill Finnegan himself, who made the original Klon Centaur, reissued his own with some rather comical text on it, and here's a picture of that. They sell for quite a lot of money, and I quite fancied one myself, I'll be honest with you. I fancied I could do with a bit of Klon on my board. So what did I do? Well, I decided to make my own, and that's the whole point of this video. I made my own Klon, and without further ado, there it is, look. Clone, yes. And I spent a weekend building this myself, so I now have my own clone of a Klon that I built myself, and I've actually named it Klone. I haven't bothered decorating it yet. But, on its own, I was thinking, how am I going to know how this compares to a proper one? Really, I could plug this in and think, yeah, it sounds great, but how am I going to know? So I wanted to do a bit of a comparison, but there was no way in hell I was going to be able to afford $5,000 to buy a actual, genuine Klon Centaur. And so what I did was I thought I'd be pragmatic about this and see if I could get my hands on some of the clones that the manufacturers are putting out there to see how mine compared to those. So to that end, I decided to get what is typically thought of as a reasonably priced Klon clone, and that is the Electro-Harmonix Soul Food. So I got my hands on one of those. I mean, you see a lot of Klon comparison videos out there, people comparing manufacturers' versions of it to the actual Klon, and one of the ones that tends to stand out amongst them all as being the best clone, or one of the best Klon clones out there, is the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. So I got my hands on one of those as well, and here it is. Very nice pedal. Look at that, it's gold and it's got some funky artwork on it. There's a dude with furry legs. So here we go. I've got a cheap entry-level clone, and I've got a decent high-end, well-regarded Klon clone, and then I've got mine, and hopefully the one I built myself is going to stack up against these ones. Bearing in mind, this thing cost me about $50 to put together. So without further ado, as they always say, I'm going to plug all these in and we're going to start playing around with them, make a bit of noise, and see how they all stack up against each other. Alright, so let me get this set up and I'll be right back. Right, so we're all set up here right now. So just to give you an idea of the scenario of the situation of the setup and what we're using to do this, we've got a lovely Vox AC15C1 in this lovely limited edition cream colour with a creamback speaker in it. It's very nice, I'm very pleased with it. Gibson Les Paul Standard 2020 Unburst. Yeah, we're just going to stick with this. I mean, I could play through different guitars, but we're really just about the pedals here, aren't we? Yes, just about the pedals. So yeah, Down here, just perhaps out of shot because I couldn't quite get the angles all worked out in this little tiny room that I have to work in. I have my pedal drawer shelf type scenario type thing, where I have a loop with the 3 Klon Klones in now, and we've got the Klon, we've got the Klon and my own version there on the right. We've got the Soul Food there in the middle, and we've got the Tumnus there on the left. And I've got a reasonable clean tone here, not really spent much time dialing in, but clean on the neck pickup here. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with the Soul Food first. We're going to get an idea of what a cheap Klon clone smells like. But just on the settings on this thing, what I've done is beforehand, I've kind of balanced these 3 out. So the drives are all sitting at 50, halfway up. The tone is all sitting in the middle. But the actual volume or level of the pedals, I've kind of balanced them all out, so when they kick in they kind of give the same reasonable volume. Yeah, so clean tone on the neck pickup. That's quite clean, but it's got a little bit of crunch on it. But if we kick the Soul Food in, let's see how that sounds. So that's kind of, it's nice. I mean, it gives it a bit of a boost, adds a bit of grind to it. Let's switch to the Tumnus, see what's going on with the Tumnus. Alright, that to me, I'll be honest with you, just has a little bit more crispness, a little bit more clarity to it for me, that one. I just feel like I'm a little bit more in charge and a little bit more crisp. With the Tumnus. So yeah, I think that one sounds just a little bit crisper. So let's try my own hand-built clone, shall we? Okay, do you know what? Interesting. So it definitely gives it that nice boost. I think perhaps the Tumnus again just had a little bit more, I don't know if crispness is the right word for it, but I'm hearing just a little bit more high-end harmonic out of the Tumnus than I am out of this. Does that mean I think it's better? I'm not sure. It's nice though. I mean, let's go back to clean just to hear the difference. You know, it does sound really nice though, doesn't it? It just gives the tone that little bit extra sort of oomph and niceness to it. But I think I'm going to push the drive a little bit on these and see where we're going. So back to the Soul Food, and let's kick the drive up to sort of 3/4 and see what that does for us. nice, very usable tone. And I think pushing the drive on that soul food just brings a little life out of it a little bit. But let's carry on with the comparison. Let's do the same with the Tumnus. Gain up to about 3/4. Kick the Tumnus in. So, do you know what? The same thing's happening to me there. The soul food sounded nice. I mean, and it was giving it some real beans there with the drive, but the Tumnus again, similar amount of drive there, but again, to me, just a bit more of a tightness, a bit close. Everything's just a bit more focused and just a little bit more there and controllable. Bringing the les sound out right, and yeah, very nice, very impressive. Okay, so let's do the same with mine. Bear in mind all the way through this, make your own mind up. Don't just listen to what I'm telling you. All right, drive is this one up here. I haven't labelled any of these yet. So drive 3/4 up. Hand bill. That's hard to really, again, decide. I think it does loosen off a little bit compared to the Tumnus there, but again, just hugely usable tone and nice. And then just back to clean there for a minute. I think perhaps with a bit of tweak of the tone on these things, you know, you could probably get them all sounding very close together. Yeah, let's have a little tweak of the tone on these things. So if I just up the tone a little bit on well, let's go back, let's keep going in the same order, shall we? Go back to the soul food there. So without touching anything, here we go. Let's see if we can push the treble a little bit, see what that gives us. Let's put it up to 3/4. Now that's really kind of brought it out now, hasn't it? But perhaps a bit too much, it's a bit too harsh and ice picky for me that. Let's pull that down just a little bit and see where that gets us. Okay, so I guess it didn't really need to go much north of halfway really to pull quite a bit of high end out of it again. Alright, so I think that's kind of its sweet spot right there, at least for this setup, and that's quite nice, so I'm going to leave that one there. Let's see if we can get the same sort of tone out of the Tumnus. So, as it was. Yeah, actually now I've dialed that soul food in a little bit. I'm not quite hearing the same quality from the Tumnus. But perhaps this is where the Tumnus really comes into play, or comes into its own rather, because you've got a full tone stack to play with there. You've got a full set of treble, mid and bass controls. So just mucking about with the treble, let's push that a tiny touch, see what that does for us. A bit more. Very nice, and we let's give the bass a bump just to see what that does for us. Do you know what, that's really nice, isn't it? And just for the hell of it, let's give the mid a little bump as well. Really nice. And well, let's see what I can do with mine. Let's see if I can dial in a sweet spot on mine that's comparable to the others there. Simply by bumping the tone. So a little tone control here. Perhaps a bit farther. Said and done, I could spend all day twiddling with these and fiddling around with them, trying to get different tones out of them or match them and all that sort of stuff. But what I would say is 3 very similar pedals here and 3 completely different costs. I mean, I'd be happy with any one of these, to be honest. Yes, I think Brian Wampler is a fantastic pedal maker, and you know, he's done a very great job of taking the Klon circuit there and adding his own little touches to it. And could I possibly believe for a minute that the real Klon Centaur itself is significantly better than any one of these, to the tune of $5,000? No way. But yeah, 3 great pedals there. One I made myself, which is brilliant. One that's kind of a cheap entry-level version, and one that's kind of a high-end, very nice, relatively expensive version. Of course, I'm going to stick with mine. I built it myself, so that's going to obviously be my personal favourite. Am I happy with the sound that I can get out of that thing? Yes, I'm absolutely pleased as punch, as they say. And I'll probably be banging the other 2 on Facebook Marketplace or eBay shortly, and just shifting them on. So yeah, if you want either of them, let me know. Otherwise, they'll be gone soon. Anyway, there you go. So moral of the story is, if you want a Klon, you don't have to pay $5,000. You can sling a couple of £100 at Brian Wampler and he'll give you a very nice Tumnus Deluxe, and it's a fantastic pedal. I have to say his little tweaks and touches on it make that an absolutely brilliant pedal. Or you can go at the entry level end and get yourself soul food. Sounds great, sounds absolutely brilliant. Or you can do what I did and make your own for even less, and have a pedal that stacks up just as well against the big boys ones. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to to subscribe. You know, feel free to leave any comments on anything you might have heard today. If you think I've talked absolute bollocks and you want to disagree with me, or you agree with me, or you've got another opinion about how these pedals sounded, let me know. You know, leave some comments. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.